everybody. Thank you so much for coming. I'm assuming because I've mic'd, you can all hear me even though I'm wearing a mask? Yes. Okay, great, thank you. Being a little overly cautious, but why not? We have a great group here and I don't want to get anyone else sick. Thank you again. I'm so pleased that we got this turnout and at the very least to see committee members in person, which I don't always get to do. We do a lot of virtual meetings, so it's such a pleasure to be here in person. We are here at the tail end of a pretty long journey. It's been a real privilege for me to be a part of it for the last year and a half. I was hired into this role as the Ecological Restoration Planner. My name's Allison Maurer. I always forget to start with that. My first task really in this job was to take up the formation of an advisory committee to lead the development of the Pollinator Action Plan. The mayor appointed 10 official committee members from a long list of interested community members, and a group of dedicated alternates have joined us for nearly every meeting as well. The committee includes 2 general members, representatives from Conservation Commission, Urban Forestry Committee, representatives from local nonprofits, and a youth member. And if you're on the committee, can you just raise your hands for a minute? Thank you all so much for your hard work. So I just want to give a brief overview of that process. This was the start, just that formation of the committee was just the start of the official plan development. The tendrils of that project began long before, of course, given that this is a community that cares so deeply for environment and sees the participation of urban residents as an integral part of global conservation efforts. This was immediately apparent in our first meeting, which was on April 10th in 2023. Over the course of the following months, we met every 2 weeks and developed, wrote, and edited together an RFP that would solicit proposals from interested design teams. And after many hours of reviewing applications, learning the process together, and interviewing the candidates, the committee selected Offshoots, Inc. on October 19th. Ever since then, Offshoots has been working hard with us, with city staff. They've presented 4 times to the committee. They've worked tirelessly to develop the best possible vision for this plan, and I've seen their enthusiasm for it shine through at every point. This was a really public process. We have made every meeting open to the public. Recordings of those are online. The minutes are, the slides are. You can see the whole process. If you want to go check it out, you can review what our conversations were like in the past up through this point. And our community experts have been guides all the way through, and they will continue to be as we finalize the little bits and tweaks at the end of the plan, and as we disseminate this plan and encourage other residents to participate. I really look forward to staying in community with each of you, and just want to thank you so much for your engagement in this process. We have the mayor is going to speak, and then we'll turn it over to Offshoots for a brief presentation. We also have the plan itself that you can scroll through once we're done, and refreshments as well on the 2 laptops over here. So thank you again for all being here, and I'll turn it over to Mayor Ballantyne.
Good evening. It's so nice to see you all. Thank you. Welcome for being here tonight, and thank you for celebrating our new Pollinator Action Plan and Somerville's Pollinator Summer. I'm more than simply proud to release this plan. I'm inspired, and I'm certainly hopeful. So much of the important things that impact our lives happen out of view. Medical research to cure disease, engineering to create our roads and railways, farming to grow the food we eat. We may not see these things, but we rely on them. It's the same with pollinators. These tiny creatures that dot our landscape play the role of giants when it comes to securing our food supply, maintaining our environment, and bolstering our economy. I know many in this room know the statistics, but it bears repeating. 90% of plants rely on insects to pollinate them in order to reproduce and survive. 75% of the world's top food crops need pollinators to produce roughly 1/3 of the food that we eat. Next time you enjoy a summer berry, a cup of coffee, or French fries, think a pollinator. Pollinators also support plant systems that prevent soil erosion, clean the air, and store the carbon humans emit into the atmosphere. And they sustain our agricultural goods economy, whether foods or products like cotton. Honeybees alone are directly behind between $1 and more than $5 billion per year in agricultural goods in the United States alone, according to the Journal of Economic Etymology. And yes, there's a Journal of Economic Etymology, because as one of our wise staffers, Allison Maurer, recently said in a Pollinator Plan meeting, pollinators are not just a small phenomenon. This is a huge system that plays out every single moment of every day. In short, pollinators maintain the very stability of our ecosystem. We have always needed them, and now they need us. Our planet's pollinators are bees, butterflies, beetles, flies, wasps, and other pollinating insects are threatened with significant decline. If nothing is done, insects worldwide are expected to decrease by 30% in the next 20 years. But cities and individuals can work to change that course. And it is not just why our Pollinator Action Plan is needed, it's why, frankly, it is both a beautiful and practical thing. This plan deftly takes the daunting, frightening, abstract threat and breaks it down into easily understood hyperlocal impacts and solutions. The plan offers simple, clear steps that individuals, the city, and the region can take to help to reverse this trend. The plan our community built puts power in our hands, one plant and one well-fed cloudy-winged mining bee at a time. By doing what we believe no city has ever done, we can do more to help. This plan is unique. It is a first. It is not only the first time a city of our density has created a plan to support pollinators. We believe the plan marks the first time that a city has documented every insect species known to be within its border, and that's nearly 300. And we went even beyond that and determined insect species that could also be here undetected as well, given the right conditions, nearly 250. The plan compiles and analyzes data on which insects are declining and which are stable, and it indicates what plants and actions by us they need to thrive. So whether you plant one pot of wood aster to support an owlet moth caterpillar, or whether the city introduces goldenrod in our parks to support 49 of Somerville pollinator species, we can all use the guides and the lists in this plan to build better habitats and care for them with our insects' needs in mind. This is just the start, but now we have a map, a helpful list, and more than 40 recipe cards and clear, accessible guidance to start with and inspire further action. This is a significant step forward that builds on our previous work with the community and the City Council on our Native Plant Ordinance, Tree Preservation Ordinance, and the Urban Forestry Management Plan. There are so many to thank for charting this vital path for our community to protect, nurture, expand our pollinator species, and create a city, and we hope ultimately a region that is sustainable and resilient. I cannot thank enough the Pollinator Action Plan Advisory Committee, members and partner organizations that donated their time and fueled this important effort with their determination. Many community advocates have paved the way for this work, from home gardeners to the growing center, advocates and more. This is a real group effort that could not have been done without our community members. I myself have learned so much as a city councilor from advocates like Tori Antonino, Renee Scott, and others who championed this effort, and the staff who worked to advance this work for so long. This plan couldn't have happened without our passionate public space and urban forestry staff who shouldered this work with dedication and deep skill. Nor would it exist without the insights of our committee, partner scientists, landscape specialists, and citizen scientists who poured their knowledge, expertise, data, and careful analysis and design into this plan. I'm sure I missed someone, but I do want to especially recognize committee members who donated their time, attention, and energy. Members spent over 30 hours in committee meetings, not including the time they spent reviewing precedent plans, draft materials, editing documents, and attending outreach events. You were involved every step of the way, and our community owes you a debt of gratitude for your dedication. Thank you to the Tufts Pollinator Initiative and one of its founders, the amazing Dr. Nicholas Dorian, the Somerville Growing Center, the Somerville Garden Club, Earthwise Aware, Green and Open Somerville, the Somerville Conservation Commission, the Massachusetts Pollinator Network, offshoots and their brilliant team, including Kate Kennan and Shelby Chapman-Hale, and their many inspiring colleagues. Thank you as well to our City Council for supporting this work every step of the way. This community-driven plan embodies Somerville's determination to take on crisis we face. My hope, your hope, and the city's hope is that this information be a catalyst for impactful action to come. I heard about the great ideas at your last meeting, pollinator safaris and garden tours, and pollinator ambassadors and garden certifications, seed libraries, and more. I want you to know we are committed not just to creating this plan, but to acting on it and spreading it. We designed this plan to travel beyond Somerville's borders to help protect pollinators throughout our region. It is an open source document, so other municipalities can use it as a resource. My understanding is that at a recent meeting of landscape architects, they were riveted and excited by it. I hear the state's Department of Conservation and Recreation has been eagerly awaiting it. We will work to share it both with our community and beyond. But while we are ahead of many cities and are seeking to lead, we have room to grow, to learn, and do better. This work is not done, but we do aim to set the standards for how a city can play a part in supporting biodiversity, because this challenge will take all of us. As with all important things, it will take many hands to lift up our pollinator species and help end the biodiversity crisis. But in Somerville, our Pollinator Action Plan is ready to lead, thanks to so many of you. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
So if we could have Nick's audio up, that would be amazing. And we have joining us with us today, we're going to do a really short presentation on just the highlights of some of the things that came up. We are so excited to have so many of the committee members here today. It's so nice to meet you in person. And Nick Dorian, our incredible entomologist, I'm Kate Kennan from Offshoots. Our team here, as we mentioned, Shelby here, Christian is here, Elizabeth is here, Stas is here, spent many hours on this, and we learned so much from all of you and from Nick, so we're excited to be here. So anyways, we're going to start this off by just having Nick just present 5 minutes or so about just the data that we analyzed as part of the plan, and then we'll just give you a few quick plan highlights. And hopefully the audio will all work. We're trying kind of a workaround with the IT in the room, so we're going to try this here. And Nick, maybe you can...
Can you hear me?
Perfect, maybe, and can he hear us too? Yeah.
I can hear you.
Perfect. We're
Can
going
you
to
hear
join
me?
we're going to join the computer audio.
Say something.
Yep. Nick, can you hear
me?
us?
I can.
Okay, and is that coming through on the speakers? Maybe we can just turn it up a little bit more to maximize it. And Nick, you can hear us okay?
I can hear you. It's a little faint, but I can make it out what you're saying.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, super. Am I good to go?
Yes. All right, so Nick,
Okay,
I'm going to
well,
advance through the
welcome.
slides here, and you just tell us when you want us to switch a little bit as we go. And actually,
Okay.
Allison, hold on. I'm not seeing that. Sorry, guys. This is a little tricky. There's that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's good.
Well, evening, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. Anyway, my name is Nick Dorian. I'm an ecologist and entomologist. I graduated from Tufts with my PhD last year, and I was really excited to work with Offshoots and the City of Somerville and the committee on this project. In part because over the last 20, 30 years or so, there's been this increasing concern about saving our pollinators, which you're all familiar with. And a lot of the attention so far has been paid to rural and natural areas, like the margins of roadways or old meadows or even beneath solar fields. But in recent years, there has been this turn towards leveraging cities, places where a lot of people live, as sites of conservation of pollinators. Now, importantly, you have to take a slightly different approach, one that centers the behaviors and the needs and the interests of the citizens of that city, as well as the needs of the pollinators that live in that city. And so our aim with this project was to think about how we could provide science-backed guidelines that were accessible to residents that sort of centered the importance of garden aesthetics and design, as well as ecology and science, and uniting those ideas rather than placing them as separate or in opposition. And we learned that Somerville is just home to a dazzling array of pollinator neighbors. We have fuzzy bumblebees and bright green bees. We have black digger wasps with iridescent blue wings that really just love crickets. They don't want to bother you. And we have moths with fuzzy antennae and bees that are green with green eyes and orange hairs. Flies that look like wasps and monarchs that migrate thousands of miles from Mexico all the way to Somerville. And so our first task in designing a plan was thinking about, well, what pollinators live in Somerville and what are their needs? And so to do this, we compiled a variety of data sets that existed to take what I think is one of the most comprehensive inventories of flower visiting insects in an urban area, at least that I've come across. And so to do this, we compiled data from iNaturalist, which is a publicly available crowdsourced biodiversity repository. So anyone can take a photograph with their phone and upload it. And we were able to leverage the records of nearly 270 observers over 13 years of pollinators in Somerville. We added hummingbirds into the data set because hummingbirds can pollinate too. And we used eBird, which is a similar function but just for birds. And then we were grateful to have the data of Earthwise Aware with Claire O'Neill's amazing work leveraging their detailed records of insects in Somerville, and then work that I did with a master's student, Maria Ostapovich, a few summers back through the Tufts Pollinator Initiative to document pollinators at gardens specifically in Somerville. We also were able to bring in expertise from regional experts as well, folks that work for the insect conservation group, the Xerces Society, Dr. Primack, Dr. Avalon Owens, to really sort of round out how we were building this plan for insects. So I'll cut to the chase. We found nearly 300 species of pollinators that have been observed in Somerville, Massachusetts, and a lot of these are bees and moths. And this is kind of exciting because this pattern of lots of different kinds of bee species is something that you find in cities all over the world. That means patterns that we're seeing in Somerville play out in New York, in Berlin, in Toronto. And so kind of cool that the data we had was able to reflect these patterns. We have just one species of hummingbird, the ruby-throated hummingbird, and so my task for all of you this summer is to go out and see if you can find a hummingbird in Somerville, because we only have 9 observations, and we'd love to see where else they occur. In addition, go back to one more slide. In addition, we were interested in how we could design a plan not only for the species that live in Somerville, but for species that might have been lost from Somerville or those that might be moving into Somerville as the climate changes. And so we added in nearly 250 additional potential pollinator species in order to design plantings that would be hospitable to a wide array of species of pollinators. So with this data, we looked at 3 facets of pollinators in Somerville: where they occur, when they're active, and what plants they interact with. This is a map of the city of Somerville, with each point coding a different observation of a pollinator. The color of the point is the group of pollinator that they fall under, with yellow points being bees and blue points being butterflies and moths, and you'll notice the red points are the hummingbirds that are just sort of scattered around. So in general, pollinators are found across the city, although there seems to be a lot of effort in documenting pollinator diversity especially in Ward 3 near the Somerville Growing Center. We also found that their pollinators are active across the growing season, but with specific trends. So bees seem to have their peak between June and September. Hummingbirds seem to be found in the city only during migration, as they're coming north in April and May, and as they're returning in late July and September. Flies seem to have an activity period a bit later in the season, but the point is we're able to sort of pull out when are these different groups of insects active and when should we prioritize flowering plants in our gardens. Oh, it just
Sorry,
exited.
folks. Sorry.
I imagine you see that, though.
Sorry, Allison, this isn't my machine, so I don't know how it jumped me out of there. Let me stop share again. Let me reshare it. I'm not sure why it...
Should I
Sorry,
wait?
Nick. Let me reshare it again. Sorry. All right, there we go. Oh, does it? Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Okay, this might seem overwhelming, but it's evidence that there is ecological complexity playing out in Somerville. This is what's known as a plant pollinator network. On the top in orange, we have the names of all the different kinds of flower visiting insects that we had interaction data on, and on the bottom in green, we have the plants they interact with. And the width of the bar denotes how many unique interactions that these plants and pollinators have. So for example, Bombus impatiens, the big orange bar on top, is the common eastern bumblebee. It's a generalist. It visits lots and lots of different kinds of flowers. In contrast, if we look at the bottom, we can see that there's certain standouts like Solidago, which is goldenrods, or Rudbeckia, which are black-eyed Susans, that receive a lot of interactions. And those might be plants we want to prioritize in our gardens if our goal is to support a lot of biodiversity with a few plants. And so we took the guesswork out of this and we summarized which plants are the standout plants that we recommend planting in gardens to support the most kinds of pollinators. And so what we see is that goldenrod supports nearly 40% of all the pollinators that we looked at in our data set. And we have standouts like milkweed. When you plant milkweed for monarch butterflies, it's not just helping monarchs, it's helping nearly 30% of flower visiting insects in the area. Importantly, we have plants like boneset and meadowsweet and bee balm. These are plants that have specialized interactions with insects and are nice to prioritize because they help species that don't visit any other plants. And so including them in landscapes can really increase sort of the ecological impact in the long term, while also having sort of umbrella level effects. So overall, we learned that pollinators in Somerville are really biodiverse. They occur across the city and are active across the growing season. There's a set of 15 plant species that we think are great to prioritize if you have a small space that support at least 10% each of focal pollinators. And that street trees, in addition, although I didn't get a chance to talk about it, street trees are a really amazing opportunity to support butterflies and moths as their caterpillars so that they can then visit flowers in home gardens.
Thank you so much, Nick. It's been incredible to have Nick on the team. So where we got to is this is an issue for everyone to get excited about, and that we need all hands on deck to actually make a big impact. And if we look at a map of Somerville, the amount of impervious area, meaning area that we can landscape that allows water through it, the city of Somerville has 4.2 square miles, but 0.09 square miles of that is city-owned. 0.45 square miles is actually owned by private individuals. So each of us as an individual makes a big impact. It's not just the city and city land that we're looking at here. So what do we need to do? Habitat creation, right? We all know that planting the right species, plant it and they will come. Regionally native, planting species that are native east of the Mississippi and north of Virginia. We have been shown to support pollinators. We need to think about planting something that blooms all the way from early March in through the whole summer and into the fall. So making sure there's resources the whole season, including trees and shrubs. When we think of pollinator gardens, we always think, oh, we're going to put in a few perennials and flowering plants. The early resources of trees and shrubs are super important. Mowing less. Starting to get rid of some of the lawns when it's possible, when they're not recreational uses. Adding polyculture plants. I know that sounds ridiculous, but clover, weeds, not a bad thing when it's in your lawn as a pollinator resource, so letting some of those things be there, but still considering mowing the edge so it looks neat for folks. And then when we buy our plants, to really make sure we're getting from sources that don't use pesticides, especially neonicotinoids, in the nursery garden center. The problem is those pesticides will affect the plant and stay on the plant for a full year, and sometimes even longer. And the challenge is that most of our garden centers, I'm going to tell this super quick anecdote that I mentioned before. I grew up in a nursery garden center. My parents, I called the supplier that supplies all of the independent garden centers, it's called Master Nurserymen's Network, to find out which growers in the US grow without neonics, and he was able to tell me 2 that we could buy from. So it's not just your garden center, it's the growing network. So we have to ask for these plants, and if we don't ask for these plants, we're not going to make change. So this is one of the biggest things that we can all do so that those garden centers can then push the growers to make a change. We have to consider urban conditions, right? Rabbits, compaction, salt. So what we've provided you with is a few things. We call it the Pollinator Pantry. This is section 11 of the plan. So we have plant lists. We have these are the top plants, as Nick mentioned, but we also have lists of larval host plants that we just recently added this last go-around. We have plants that they're here, the top trees, shrubs, and perennials, and the larval host plants. We then also have plant lists by pollinator. We have identified 5 different pollinator species that we can monitor that are easy to identify, and Nick made these awesome little videos that you can go online and learn how to identify it. They're docile, meaning they're not going to come after you with a stinger, right? It gets us all in that idea of identifying these insects, and then we can bring them to our gardens. Nick made these great little graphs for each one, and there's a series of pollinator partners or other pollinators that would be supported if we plant species for that plant. So we have these lists. And then we have these recipe cards, almost 40 different designed gardens that goes everything from a small pot that you could put on your patio, and they're arranged by color and aesthetic so that people can create something that's pretty and also supports pollinators, up to big patches that have that are arranged by color and also by moisture type and height and that sort of thing. And we include things like rabbit tolerance and salt tolerance and that sort of thing in them. And then we also have lawn conversions. What can you do if you're going to convert your lawn using plants or even different seed, other mixes that you could put in instead? And then the last big piece of it, more for the seasoned professional, is this comprehensive plant list. This is what the mayor was talking about in terms of open source material. This is an incredible place for designers or other municipalities to go in and do research by what are the pollinators or what are the plants that were best supported, which kind of species they support, and you can toggle this so that you can create your own designs. So that's really an important piece of this, is to create something that other people can work from as well. And then lastly, we have a whole series of maintenance guidelines. So these are all of kind of the planting guidelines are in the document, but we have all of these ideas of how do you change your maintenance practices, because this is a really huge piece of it. So right, no pesticides. Trying to leave some of the leaves or more of the leaves on site and not leaf blowing and leaving patches of them. Starting your spring cleanup May 1st or later. This is a big change. We all want to get out there early, but the more that we can actually leave some of those things, May 1st is the best practice here. Leaving some dead stems up 6 to 18 inches for 2 years so that we can actually host bumblebees and other nesting insects. Leaving debris and stick piles in the back. I know, like, you're not going to leave sticks everywhere, but you could leave a small pile somewhere in the back corner with wood that might have been there for a little while. Using a different alternative to mulch, composted leaf mulch instead of bark mulch, will help ground nesting bees be able to get through, and leaving patches of bare ground in the back of the beds. And then sign it, right? We brought some of our signs today, like let people know what you're doing. They can click on the QR code, bring them to the plan, and it gives an image for the plan and for the city. And then lastly, really focusing as we start as a city doing interventions to really think about wards 1, 2, and 4 and areas near the Mystic River where there's a lot of corridor things already happening. So we created a framework for where new city interventions would happen on city land and policy changes. So that being said, again, thank you so much to the committee and the mayor for getting excited about this and getting the group together, because this is really incredible, innovative work. I'm really excited about it. And we truly could not have done it without everyone. The next event kind of coming up is Pollinator Alley at Artbeat, right? That's coming up. And then, what's that? The 13th, sorry, that's got the wrong date on it. Sorry about that. And then what we did want to just end with is this project was really about the committee. And what we'd like to just do is we did an exercise with our community engagement, Harry, and I forget Harry's last name. Harry Harding, thank you. At the beginning, he got the committee together and we talked about flash forward to 10 years, okay, and this plan has been a resounding success. What would you see in the city at that point that it is successful? And we thought that we might just go around the room and hear from the committee members. Allison, could you come up and maybe help me, like, with the committee members? We would just or if you want to say something, because you put so much effort into this, we wanted to hear from the committee, just a couple sentences about either what was important to you about this or what does success look like in 10 years when you look at it, just to bring it back to the rest of the group. Yeah, we could do that. Could we do that? And Allison, do you want to, can you MC this part of it with me? Sure. Okay, awesome. Who wants to go first? I don't want to call on Cynthia. You look so ready. Put in so many times and sat on most of the expert interviews. A lot more native plantings. And insects. And insects, yep. Ongoing monitoring will be so important. That's awesome. Thank you. Awesome. Yay.
What kinds of methods are you using to get our plan out to surrounding areas?
That's a great question. Do you want to speak to that at all? Sure.
Yeah, the question was what our strategies are for getting this out to the surrounding community. I will be honest that this is sort of phase 2. I'm still deep in phase 1, so my mind is turning to that very soon. Our partners, our committee members are all very lodged in a variety of networks throughout Massachusetts. So we rely both on city staff to be doing things and also our committee members to be ambassadors out there in the community, which you already are doing. But that will be the network that we establish here should be, like extending its fingers out even further. We're presenting this to landscape architecture colleagues. We're talking to other towns when we get the opportunity. And then I think there will be more concerted efforts that we develop once we're sort of like wrapped up the details of the plan itself and I have a little bit of brain space to imagine what that looks like. But a lot of it is that it needs to be community word. It's like we're trying to empower people to talk to their neighbors, talk to their landlords, get the word out there. Mayor, did you want to say something? That was that our comms department is going to be also spreading the word both in the academic, municipal, community in addition. Yeah. Anyone else want to go?
We'd love to hear from other. Michael, can I call on you? Some people, sorry. I've worked with Michael for a long time, putting in a lot of different important native plantings around the city, so. It's great. We're excited because having Michael there and understanding, knowing this plan as we go forward with other things that happen in the city to let people know it's a resource. It's incredible. Other committee members who might want to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Jack. One of the most important things for me, was assessment, is that people are participating in the plan without knowing that the plan exists.
Yeah.
It's really easy that it is something that you're sharing so widely that people can participate in easily enough.
Yeah.
That people from large landowners, from people who run professional landscaping companies, from renters, to private individuals who own homes to know the municipal landscape, everyone's able to participate in the plan. And I think one of the things that really surprised me when the research was done is how effective, especially when we're in a network, even small spaces.
Even tiny spaces, it still makes a difference. Yep, doesn't matter how big it is, even the tiniest pot makes a difference. Thanks, Jack. Yep. Yeah, sure. She said what would be so great is even though the city isn't maybe the largest landowner, if the city could lead by example and plant 100% native and minimize lawns to the greatest extent possible, going forward would be an awesome goal. Yeah? Go ahead. Hi. Hi, Claire. Yes. That's right. Yep. So the comment was that it would be so great for the committees in the city to work together, and then also going forward for different municipalities to create a regional network, which is critical. It's awesome. Yes.
Yeah, Heidi Meyer.
Hi, Heidi.
I know that I'm kind of aware of stuff like this, this traffic calming, or whatever they call it. But I'm suddenly, there's a slide I thought I saw where there's a little strip with the growing stuff between, bike lane and driveway. Can you explain a little bit about, is that part of this kind of movement?
For sure. Habitat can be everywhere, right? And one of the tricky things about those spaces is that you have to have visibility. It has to be able to be maintained. They're owned by the city, and so it's tricky to implement. But the idea is trying to create concepts that can be utilized everywhere. So there are some different plant communities that are in there that are supposed to be low height and self-sustaining, so that we don't have to do a lot of garden maintenance. So there's a little bit in there for all those spaces. So. Yep. The idea is habitat, to create a network of habitat everywhere. Yeah. Hi.
I would just like to add that in 10 years, without even knowing how it happened, all residents know 10 different native plants and 10 different colonies.
I love that.
It's all part of sort of the different ways of learning and doing together.
That's amazing. So success looks like the citizens of Somerville really understanding or knowing 10 different native insects and 10 different native plants. I love that.
Yeah, Amy.
Agreed. Where wards 1, 3, and 4 right now currently have less canopy cover and have less insect observations, getting a monitoring effort in those areas, but then also just making sure the habitat is linked in those. Incredible. That's one of our huge goals too, especially because they are, areas that are historically, environmental justice communities that we could reinvest in. So, great. Any other comments? Yeah, Alondra. Community science, yeah. Anyone. Yep, great. So that the benefit of really having community integration with the science is really what we were hoping to do. So I'm excited and hope that there's a tool in the toolbox for everyone. So that's the hope. Cool. Anyone else?
I just want to say how incredibly grateful I am for this wonderful, thorough, thoughtful, very important practice. I'm so proud of you.
Yay.
Thanks for coming.
Shelby, do you want to say anything? She's like literally spent many, many late nights. But, Cool. Thank you. Tori?
A success will be that anywhere you are in Somerville, wherever you look, you'll be able to see vegetation that will be native, if it's intentionally in the private sidewalk or unintentionally, but wherever you are, it'll be like greenery, and that it won't be as much of a shock or surprise, even though it will bring joy. It won't have that like, oh my gosh, a butterfly. It'll be like, oh my God, we're just in
Yeah.
everywhere, and that's just that the baseline will move to the point where it's just natural. It's just like, oh yeah, this is how we are. Oh yeah, there's a firefly, and I think I just saw a chipmunk that like ran by. And I think that's what I hope is that this is just becomes our everyday.
I love that. And one of the things I remember, Tori, when we first talked about this, is Tori said if everyone could like the mess, right? Be okay with something that's a little messier, that's a little looser, that's maybe a little more spontaneous. Like the aesthetic needle likely will change over time, but that if we can embrace spontaneous plants. So it's just, I loved that vision for like, you know, where I do think aesthetic preference may go. We'll see.
Just another one. So Somerville's, we're going to have a nursery. I don't know how this.
I love it.
Have our own, maybe we just have kids in their school gardens, starting plants, we have space along the bike path, we get a little urban forestry, you know, so we're actually able to source the plants that we have such a difficult time finding
Yeah.
nursery, we know that they won't be treated with mix, and
Right.
we have a little more agency about actually getting plants to our parks and our residents.
I love it. That's great. Thanks, Tori. Anyone else? Okay, with that, I think we'll probably wrap things up. What I did want to say is that we were literally working to the deadline today of like 1 p.m., which is why, or actually Shelby was working on this to like 3, finalizing the graphics and the plan. We have 2 copies here. We're going to be sharing it with the committee to get final comments and that sort of thing, but it is going to be available to the public as it is now. And it's pretty, it's formatted, and we're really excited to share it with you all. So it is here for anyone to peruse, but it's also going to be posted on the Summer Voice page as well.
Yeah, I'll make a couple more.
Perfect, and then we'll let Allison wrap it up. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nick, wherever you are. Okay, yes, so there are a couple more weeks still to provide comments. So if you haven't said something to us and you were like, shoot, I missed my chance, you haven't missed your chance. The Summer Voice page is our primary home for all project materials, updates, videos, including the really great videos that Nick made about those neighbor mascot species, the ones that are up here. So go check those out, share them with kids, you know, anyone in your family that you think might be interested. If you want to receive updates on the project stuff, I'm like looking around mostly seeing committee members, but if anyone hasn't signed up, the Summer Voice page is the way to get on my email list if you're not already. And I can let you know when the final is posted, when other things come up. Art Beat this weekend, we're going to have a whole area, a bunch of folks will be there, the Growing Center, Green and Open Somerville, the Garden Club, Groundwork Somerville, the city. So come check us out, hang out with us. There's going to be art activities, face painting, Pollinator Punk Rock Parade for kids at 5 o'clock, 4:45? I think they said 4:30, something like that. So if you're around this weekend, come check it out. 11 to 5, rain date is Sunday. Check out the new pollinator gardens out in front of City Hall as well. There's some new baby plants that we're trying our best to get established out there. You can see the plans for them over here. It's taking some of the recommendations from this plan and putting them in the ground. There's also already very well-established pollinator plants out there that you can check out too. And there are lots of pollinators already on the new babies and the established ones. There are ongoing insect ID trainings. If you are not already on iNaturalist, you too can log observations. If you want to join Earthwise Aware, does a bunch of sort of regular trainings for insect ID. Check those out too. Claire is here and you can talk to her if you want. Sorry, Claire, throwing you under the bus there. But any other events that anyone want to shout out and just let folks know here that cool stuff's coming up? Maybe I covered it. What you got?
Watch for Pollinator Film Night.
Pollinator Film Night in August at the Growing Center? At the Growing Center. Keep an eye out. Oh, Moth Night.
Could you stand up, please? I can't hear it. Moth nights on the 23rd
23rd or 24th, you're doing a moth observation evening at the Growing Center. 7:30? July 23rd or 24th. Anyway, check out the Growing Center and Earthwise Aware for more details on that one. We have so much going on in the city, it's amazing. Okay, I think that's it for me. If you have questions, you can email me. My contact information's over there. It's also on the Summer Voice page, and we'll just be here for snacks, chatting, questions, comments, whatever you want for a little bit. So thank you all so much for coming. Oh.
Sorry, you were going to say thank you, Allison.
Thank you. Thanks all. Oh, that'd be really nice, yeah. Photo opportunity, and if anyone needs a bathroom, they're down through those doors on the left. I realized I should have let everyone know. Thanks all. All right, Nick, we're gonna sign off. Farewell to you. Wish you were here.